Here are 20 completely random geography-related facts that range from unbelievable records to hard-to-believe statistics about our planet. From river systems you've probably never heard of to deserts that would rank among the largest countries on Earth, these are the kinds of curious facts and real or fake-sounding truths that are actually real. You'll learn about strange measurements, surprising country comparisons, and weird facts that make geography way more interesting than it seems. If you're into quirky facts, nature facts, and mind-blowing facts backed by real data, then these 20 strange but true entries are for you. There are 195 countries across the world covering a combined 148 million square kilometers. That means the average country is about 759,000 square kilometers, just slightly bigger than Chile. But if we go by median instead of average, we get a very different picture. The median-sized country, sitting right in the middle of the list, would be either North Korea or Malawi, each with an area of around 119,000 square kilometers. The Nile, Amazon, Yangtze, and Mississippi are the 4 longest river systems on Earth and easily the most famous. But what's the 5th longest? It's one that most people haven't even heard of, the Yenisei River. This massive river system flows through Mongolia and Russia, making it the longest river to empty into the Arctic Ocean. Despite being huge, it doesn't get much attention compared to its longer and better-known counterparts. Although impossible to measure precisely, Mount Everest is believed to weigh around 161 trillion kilograms. This astonishing estimate is based on the mountain's approximate volume of 7.5 trillion cubic meters, multiplied by an average rock density. While it's just a theoretical figure, it gives you a sense of how massive Everest truly is. It's not only Earth's tallest mountain, but also a gigantic natural structure with weight hard to even comprehend. Brazil is the largest equatorial country on the planet, covering 8.5 million square kilometers. Being equatorial means it stretches across both the northern and southern hemispheres. But here's the wild part. Only around 5% of Brazil's land is actually north of the equator. The vast majority, a whopping 95%, lies in the southern hemisphere, which often surprises people who assume a more even split given Brazil's equatorial location. Mount Kilimanjaro is widely known as Africa's tallest peak, and one of the most iconic mountains on Earth. But what's the second tallest mountain in Africa? That would be Mount Kenya, found, you guessed it, in Kenya. It may not be as famous as Kilimanjaro, but it's still massively impressive, standing about 696 meters shorter than its more popular counterpart. It's a challenging climb and remains one of Africa's highest and most majestic natural landmarks. Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, which gives Denmark a total area of just over 2.2 million square kilometers, ranking it as the 12th largest country globally. But if Greenland were to become independent, Denmark would plummet to the 130th largest, since mainland Denmark is only about 1.98% the size of Greenland. So Denmark's ranking as a large country relies almost entirely on Greenland's enormous landmass. The only sea on Earth that doesn't touch land is the Sargasso Sea. Located in the Atlantic Ocean, it's completely surrounded by ocean currents instead of coastlines. This means it has no land borders at all, making it truly unique among the world's seas. Its boundaries are defined by 4 major ocean currents forming an oval-shaped area. It's a mysterious, drifting sea, floating entirely within the ocean itself without touching a single coastline. In 2024, China produced around 1,000 terawatt-hours of solar power, making up approximately 41% of the world's total solar energy generation. To put that into perspective, this staggering amount of clean energy would be enough to power the entire nation of India for a full year. It highlights China's massive investments in renewable energy and its growing dominance in solar power on the global stage, far outpacing every other country in solar capacity. The Volcanic Explosivity Index, or VEI, is used to classify volcanic eruptions based on their strength. The scale goes up to 8, the most powerful level, which scientists believe has only happened 3 times, once in Sumatra, once in the US, and once in New Zealand. Level 8 eruptions are known as megacolossal, and they're so powerful they can affect the planet's climate. These events are extremely rare but globally catastrophic when they occur. Mount Everest is globally recognized, but what's the tallest island mountain on Earth? That title goes to Puncak Jaya, located on the island of New Guinea. It rises to an impressive 4,884 meters above sea level, which makes it about 55% the height of Everest. Despite not being as well known, it's an incredibly significant and challenging climb, and it's one of the few equatorial mountains in the world that's permanently snow-capped. It should come as no surprise that China has the world's longest bridge. Spanning an unbelievable 165 kilometers, the bridge is nearly the same length as the distance from London to Birmingham. Driving its full length takes about 2 hours. It's an engineering marvel and another example of China's infrastructure ambition. This bridge stretches across land and water and holds the title of being the longest bridge anywhere on Earth. Canada is famous for its snow and icy winters, but it can also get incredibly hot. The highest temperature ever recorded in Canada reached an astonishing 49.6 degrees Celsius. This happened in British Columbia and shattered all previous temperature records in the country. So while most people associate Canada with freezing cold, this extreme heat event proved that even the Great White North can experience blistering, desert-like temperatures during intense summer heat waves. Imagine if GDP were measured in trees instead of money. Then Russia would be the richest country on Earth. Canada and Brazil would follow, with the Democratic Republic of the Congo jumping from 87th place by GDP to 7th. In this tree-based economy, forested countries would lead the global rankings, thanks to their enormous natural green resources. It's a fun thought experiment that flips the idea of economic wealth on its head. In 2023, Japan's official island count increased by about 7,000. But how did that happen? It wasn't due to any new islands forming, but rather advancements in mapping technology. Using modern digital mapping tools and updated satellite data, researchers were able to more accurately identify and count every landmass meeting the official criteria. Turns out, Japan had significantly undercounted its islands in previous surveys. Their latest study revealed they had been off by roughly 7,000. The richest people on Earth by GDP per capita using purchasing power parity are the Luxembourgers, with around $155,000. The US ranks 9th with approximately $90,000. Purchasing power parity compares what people in different countries can buy with the same amount of money, making it a useful way to understand global wealth. So while the US has the biggest economy overall, it's Luxembourg that leads when it comes to average individual buying power. The Maluku Islands of Indonesia have about 3.1 million residents today, but interestingly, the largest community of Moluccan descent outside Indonesia is in the Netherlands. Roughly 100,000 people of Moluccan background live there. This connection stems from the island's colonial history under Dutch rule. After Indonesia's independence, many Moluccans who had served in the Dutch military were invited to relocate to the Netherlands, creating a lasting link between the two nations. You've probably never heard of Inga Falls in the DR Congo, but it's the largest waterfall on Earth by flow rate. An incredible 25 million liters of water tumble over the falls every second. That's about 2 billion liters every single day. While it may not be the tallest or widest, its sheer volume of flowing water earns it the top spot in terms of raw power, making it a hidden natural wonder. Only 7 countries in the world have achieved net zero carbon emissions, meaning they absorb more carbon from the atmosphere than they emit each year. These rare examples of climate responsibility are Bhutan, Suriname, Guyana, Madagascar, Comoros, Gabon, and Panama. Their small populations, abundant forests, and low industrial activity help them maintain this balance. While larger countries struggle to cut emissions, these 7 are quietly leading the way in global environmental sustainability. The Caspian Sea is the world's largest lake, holding around 78,000 cubic kilometers of water. But how does that compare with the oceans? The Atlantic Ocean contains about 310 million cubic kilometers, while the Pacific holds a whopping 710 million. Combined, those two oceans hold over 1 billion cubic kilometers of water, making the Caspian Sea seem tiny by comparison, even though it's the largest enclosed inland body of water on Earth. The United Arab Emirates recently ranked first for the fastest internet speeds in the world. Their average Wi-Fi speed hits 297.7 megabits per second, and mobile data speeds reach an unbelievable 512 megabits per second. It's no surprise given the UAE's small size, high wealth, and emphasis on technology and innovation. These blazing fast speeds make them the global leader in digital connectivity, ahead of much larger and more populous countries. And that's a wrap for today. But don't worry, that was just the tip of iceberg. For more jaw-dropping discoveries, check our other videos, and don't forget to subscribe us.